Like to call to order the City of Saugatuck City Council Workshop for October 19th, 2022. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Beckon,
Here.
Dean,
Here.
Gardner,
Here.
Leo's excused, Lewis excused, Stanton,
Here.
Trester.
Here. Thank you. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
None, Mr. Chair.
Hearing none, we move to guest speakers. Do we have any guest speakers? No. It's public comment. All right, no guest speakers. Moving on to public comment. Please limit your comments to items that are on the agenda and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. Anyone in the room that would like to address the council? Mr. Swan, please identify yourself and your address.
I'm David Swan from 345 Griffith here in Saugatuck. I just wanted to say a quick thank you all for your good work put into the draft resolution. And I'm here to answer any questions along with Bobby Gaunt. So thank you.
Any other takers in the room for public comment? Anyone online that would like to comment? Okay, thanks, Jamie. All right, then that concludes our first public comment period. Now we are at number 6, discussion items. A, North Shore Development Draft Letter. Mr. Manager.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. As you recall, city staff was directed by council at a workshop to draft a letter and a resolution to present to you all. And so we have been working with legal counsel who's here today, Chris Patterson. And we've been working with the Coastal Alliance to just review facts and find our mutual interests. And one of the discussion points was that we know that the Coastal Alliance presented a resolution for us, but we weren't entirely comfortable with rubber stamping that. And so we've reviewed the details of the Army Corps of Engineers permit and where that stands. And so we've, the legal counsel has drafted this letter, which is quite lengthy, with over, I think, 50 points that we have, and then some subpoints under those 50 points. And so, Mr. Chair, if you'd like to ask any questions of legal counsel at this time, that I think that would be appropriate, or.
Chris, anything you'd like to add before council asks?
Nothing specific. I just want to support the city manager's comments related to the process. I do appreciate the efforts by Mr. Swan and Mr. Scott and their legal counsel as well through email, and also met with us. In the letter that they had provided, and I think their letter was 28 or 35 pages, there was a lot of substantive information that was also noted there. And in working with the city to put this together, we did want to verify and validate those. And so they did an excellent job in providing us an electronic share of all of those source documents. So we used those source documents to verify and change their letter into a resolution that we think speaks from a policy perspective of what the city council may want to speak to. I'll also comment that as to the Corps, the permit that's pending before the Corps, of course, the factors that exist for this kind of applicable review, there's a whole set of factors, which I had a great conversation with the Coastal Alliance about. We tried to limit the sort of resolution to comment on those factors that we thought were most germane to the city on taking a policy perspective too. And so that is the contents of this document. And then one thing that I think is important, I'll note that I wouldn't, as a typical practice, have footnotes in a resolution for council, but I think what's important here is in the council taking a position on this, obviously we want to make sure that those representations are based on fact. And so you'll see that those source documents are attempted to be cited so that if someone wants to know where would council make this policy decision or this representation, then you have those sites, you have those documents where you're making those conclusions from. As far as the length, you'll see that some of the items, like I think a 32 point or a 36 point sublist is literally out of your tri-community master plan. So some of those items were both in the documents that were even provided by the Coastal Alliance, and then some of them are based on historical documents that we had discussed on the phone and that we had found in the shared files that were given to us. I don't have anything else unless anybody has comments as far as procedure. This is still open. Obviously, we can make any amendments or changes. So I know at the last meeting, what I would add is, in addition to any factors that are under the CFR, there was kind of a discussion about property ownership interests. And so we did reflect those changes that like, look, the city actually has an ownership interest in parcels that are south of this proposed project. So we're not just making these comments based on a policy position that we have a jurisdictional nature near the project. We also have ownership of lands. And we have an interest in sort of maintaining those based on sort of our economic factors and then also to benefit our community. If there is additional ways that you want that represented or additional policy statements that you want made in the document, that certainly, I don't know what your procedure would be, but those can go through Ryan or somehow they can be added to the document. Certainly, this document is meant to be acted upon on Monday. So.
Mr. Chair, Chris had mentioned CFR, and we're really good at using acronyms.
Federal regulations.
Sorry, yeah, so thanks for clarifying that. And also the draft that you have in your packet has since been sent to the Coastal Alliance for additional comments. They have since sent comments back to us, which are under review and will be presented to you all again on Monday. And you can take action on Monday, or you can, take some more time to work through the letter. It's up to council on how they want to handle that. So this is the original draft, but again, we have since received comments back from the Coastal Alliance. And so you'll be receiving another draft here very shortly.
Council?
Yeah, thank you very much. Obviously, we would have preferred to have something that was very concise and one page, right, resolution, but I think that the issue has always been for the city is not putting ourselves at undue risk for legal, in a legal sense, correct? So I appreciate the citations in there. I think the essence of this is to support what the SDCA has been seeking to accomplish. And I've not read through all the points. It's quite a lengthy document, but I will be doing so. And I think if we can just get to the essence of this is that we support the efforts of the Alliance and ultimately agree that it's the direction we're moving and we're protected from a liability standpoint, 100% for it.
Yeah, a few points on that. One is that certainly I think the Coastal Alliance has brought the position to council, and they also did provide not only sort of source documents, but also a proposed letter, which was reviewed. Certainly, I think if the source letter had not been so long when we reviewed the source letter, it just seemed like this is good content. So that's sort of what contributed to the length, is that they had done a lot of work up for the city in reviewing this stuff. What I would say is that the resolution itself does not explicitly state that we would be supporting the Coastal Alliance. They certainly have, they have filed their own comments, taken a position, and you sort of are taking your own position, providing your own information to the record. As far as a liability standpoint, certainly, I can't gauge any and all risks that could occur, but I think what would happen is you specifically have received notice twice in the past. You've had an opportunity to provide public comment. Maybe it wouldn't have been so lengthy depending on how the development process would have gone. But I think providing public comment as to the city's policy position, it's not like you're saying that this is not you don't have an ability to pass this regulation, right? You only have jurisdiction within the city. It's literally just a policy statement that the city is taking. The Corps can do what they want with it. They can review it and decide that they can put substantial weight on it and what they want to do in the further review of the permit, or do nothing further. I mean, ultimately, what the Code of Federal Regulations point out is that those individuals who are reviewing the project, or at least that individual vested with the authority, they have specific discretion to do what they want in applying the factors and deciding how to weight them. This letter is nothing more than a letter or a public comment, just like this council receives at the beginning or at the outset of a meeting. So I think it doesn't have a lot of legal significance other than providing public comment. And we have to be pretty official about it, because the council can only discuss policy positions in an open meeting. We can only reach a consensus in an open meeting, and we can only do so by a majority vote on this type of project. So I think that's why it's pretty formal from our perspective, right, on a procedural aspect to get to this type of document, because we can't do this drafting together in some type of session outside of this public meeting. But really, the way that they're gonna receive it is that like, this could have just as easily been a letter from the city manager as far as what he thinks the best position is for the city, et cetera.
Thank you, Chris.
The one additional thing, not completely responsive to your comment, but goes to the first part about supporting the Coastal Alliance, and then the city manager's comment about the changes. Couple of the changes, what we'll do is we'll put a red line together from the document that you currently have, and we can get that even sent out later tonight or tomorrow morning. But it really relates to a few minor non-substantive changes, and then there are only maybe 3 or 2, if I remember correctly, substantive changes. 2 of them I know particularly related to paragraph 50 and 51, where the language that we had proposed in your current draft, if you look at 50 and 51, says sort of phrases like more likely, or we think it's the fact that this will have a potential impact. And that language has been proposed to be changed in paragraphs 50 to 51 to be much more definitive, like this will have a negative impact on the economy. This will have a harm to our environment as set forth in our tri-community plan. So just much more definitive findings as to council. And certainly I think that's your position. If you decide that you don't think it's that concrete, or that you want to make a different policy decision, those paragraphs could be amended back to the current draft that you currently have in this packet, or, you know, obviously on Monday, you can accept them as they've been amended. But we'll get you a red line between the 2 so that you can see what changes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any additional, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know if Ryan can answer this one, but I'll direct it to you first, is similar request, I believe, was sent to the township and to Douglas. Do we know anything about position they're taking? Maybe these people might know what kind of dialogue they've had with our neighbors or.
I will direct that.
Yeah, well, so I can speak to at least, we did have this conversation with the Coastal Alliance to understand what the other municipalities have done. And they'll have to speak to what the city of the Village of Douglas has done, but Saugatuck Township has submitted letters in response to the notices. They are in a letter format approved by the board, signed by their township manager.
Similar content?
Similar position, I don't know about similar
Content,
content.
but position, it's.
Go, David, if you want to take the mic, if you want to add to that.
So Saugatuck Township's 4 letters, the first 2 were specific to the section 106 historic properties review. And there were a number of quotes taken from the tri-community master plan. It was really specific to policy, as your council has stated that this current letter before you is. The 3rd letter was in regard to a practicable and feasible alternative to the proposed excavation. And that was also supported by a letter by Chief Janik, also supporting a practicable and feasible alternative. The 4th letter was specific to public interest, and it was quite lengthy, somewhat similar to this. Again, many excerpts from the tri-community master plan. So hopefully that answers the question. Except for Douglas. Bobby Gaunt and I spoke with before the City of the Village of Douglas Council in February. The mayor decided to table the discussion as they were missing 2 council members, and he wanted the full council to be able to vote on it. It's been tabled until last night. I did not realize it was an agenda item for their meeting last night. It sounds like they had a lot of discussion, and it remains tabled for now. The mayor wants to review a very lengthy dewatering model that the applicant has put together, as well as a model that we have put together. And I must say, in my 20 years of studying all of this, it's the first document that made absolutely 0 sense to me, because it was written by a hydrogeologist with a lot of math, but rather than law. which is comprehensible to me. The mayor has some background in dewatering, and so he really wanted to dig into that. So I think that's one of the reasons why he's tabled it again.
Thank you.
Those documents available to review? Those letters,
Uh,
public record, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, I uploaded them for the manager and
Oh,
council.
I wouldn't mind taking a look at them.
Sure.
You know,
You're talking about the letters that have been sent
The
from the
Douglas,
township.
at the
too, yeah.
townships, yeah. All right, thanks, Dave.
Lauren, Ken, any?
The only thing that I was wondering is on page 4, down at number 9, with regard to the other federal, state or local requirements, the city only notes that litigation continues between Saugatuck Coastal Alliance and Saugatuck Township regarding local approvals related to the Marina Basin. As far as the current litigation, that's all we're saying is just, we acknowledge it and we're not supporting one side or the other as far as their litigation.
Correct, yeah. I think two reasons there. One, and again, they can speak to this probably more on point, but as I understand where the stage of litigation is, when we talk to Coastal Alliance about this, because in some of the information that they had provided, there was quite a bit of information about the actual litigation, not the litigation, the extent to which the zoning approvals are on point for the actual basin itself. And in looking at it, we remove that because that is part of what I think is in their contested case that's proceeding in the circuit court. Currently, all of that litigation has really only been in a preliminary standpoint. I know there's been a lot of litigation, but it's in a preliminary standpoint to figure out how that case is going to proceed. And so not that you probably can't take a position on it. I think you probably could, but just because it's your neighboring jurisdiction,
Yeah.
they're in that litigation. They're the ones who exercise the jurisdiction on the zoning ordinance. It's not our authority to exercise their zoning
Right.
ordinance. We did not dig into that. So number 9 is the only reference related to that. I'm sure that the court probably is aware of that litigation from other filings anyway. So even where the council would be uncomfortable with that paragraph, I think it could be. It's just there as sort of a placeholder, but there's no other findings made related to that litigation. And the council in this draft doesn't take a position on it.
Got anything? All right, then I think that takes us to the conclusion of item 6, leading us to item 7, second chance for public comment on any item, 3-minute limit. Any comments from the audience?
Thank you again. I just wanted to clarify one point. Coastal Alliance is not looking for support of the Coastal Alliance. I believe the resolution is really specific to the unanimously approved tri-community master plan, and we were very specific in that. We are not looking for support for any of the Coastal Alliance perspectives. It's really specific to the tri-community master plan and the tri-community economy. Thank you again.
Thanks, David. Thanks. No one else in the audience? Anyone online that would like to comment? I don't see anything. Jamie, do you? All right, with that, that closes our second public comment period. Takes us to item 8, closed session. This is closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268E to consult with the city attorney regarding special counsel to assist on trial strategy in connection with specific pending litigation involving Dune Ridge SALP versus City of Saugatuck, case number 22-65713-CZ. We do have a motion on the table. If anybody would like to advance a motion.
I'll make a motion to move into a closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268, paragraph E, to consult with the city attorney regarding special counsel to assist on trial strategy in connection with specific pending litigation involving Dune Ridge SALP versus City of Saugatuck, case number 22-65713-CZ. Because if discussed in open session, such discussion would have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the city.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Second,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Leo is excused. Lewis is online. Stanton?
Yes.
Custer?
Yes.
Motion carries. Chris, quick question for you.
Did what, just may I ask, what did you say? Garnett's online?
Yeah, and I was just gonna ask Chris about that.
Yeah, I don't think.
What level of participation can Mayor Lewis have, if any, given that she's dialed in remotely?
So under the closed session rules, we are allowed to invite those individuals in to participate in a closed session.
Okay.
There's a, I think it's like 1980 something AG opinion on that effect. The only thing that I would say is we have to keep in mind.
You got the meeting back. So the meeting's back open. Ryan's back, nobody else is back. So item 9, correspondence. We have correspondence. And that takes us to 10, council comments. Round robin. Ken, would you like to start? Any council comments?
Oh, no, I'll pass.
Okay. Anything?
Nothing for me. No.
Nothing.
Two items.
Go ahead.
Number one is Friday at 10:30 a.m. TVA. It's going to be over at the Bald Head Park they're gonna, hopefully if the weather cooperates, go up and do some filming up there and talk with Chuck, particularly because of the National Register of Historic Preservation nomination. They're very intrigued and want to learn a little bit more about it. So Friday at 10:30 at Mount Bald Head. Also too, want to ask, I had made mention several months ago about looking at an opportunity to develop a Saugatuck, what I call Saugatuck 311. I've actually connected with a company that actually does this. They're called GoGov. And I want to see if I can maybe work with one of the city staff to get a half hour scheduled with whoever would like to sit and listen to this. It's a half hour investment, kind of learn a little bit about what it's about and see where we want to go with it.
Mr. Gardner, I'd be your guy. Yes, happy to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I saw it about a month ago or so. It's pretty neat.
There's quite a few programs out there. In fact, I talked to Ryan Cummins about using some of our existing software, which we use, which is called BSNA, to see if we can do something similar to track all of our citizen requests. So yeah, happy to.
Yeah,
Sit down
I
and
think
review.
it'd be a very good investment of 30 minutes.
Okay. Good, Russ?
Yep.
Okay. My only comment is, once again, thank you, Chris. We really appreciate having you here in your council. I really value it. So just thank you for coming today. And with that, I will, it's a voice vote for adjournment. All in favor? Oh, do you need a motion?
Motion, move to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Meeting adjourned.